everyone, welcome back to the Avalanche GameFi channel. This is Zach, also known as Trading Aloha on Twitter. Today we're going to take a look at part 2 of the 4-part series on Battle for Giostone, and we're going to examine the tokenomics and the different ways that you can play and earn, or passively invest, in what's turning out to be a highly anticipated launch. To start, let's break down how the BFG tokens will be distributed and at what price points. If you go back over the past year, one of the biggest issues in GameFi has been the difference in price points in some of the private sales and public sales of some of the top GameFi games of 2021. Usually when this happens and there's such a disparity between the prices of the public sale rounds and the private rounds, you see a large dump and a big concern from retail investors on what's going to happen when the private sale tokens start to become unlocked. In the past, we've seen anywhere between 3, 5, 6, 7x difference between the private sale price and the public sale price of the tokens, generally leading to large dumps and increased selling pressure on the price as token become unlocked, and it really just ends up being the retail investors holding the bag. So people have become a lot more hesitant to that, and I think teams have become a lot more aware, and the good teams try to structure those sales to be a little more competitive to ensure that there is an incentive for both the private sale investors that are backing the project to still have that chance to make a profit, but it's not so much so that they can just pull their entire investment out and then move on to another project. They actually stay invested, because in order for them to actually make a decent amount of money, they will also have to succeed along with the public sale investors because the price is so close. And that's something that the BFG team has done very well here. If you look at the pre-seed round and the seed round of the sales of BFG, they're actually exactly the same. There's no step between pre-seed investors, seed round investors. They're both the same at 0.033 cents, which is fantastic. Because then if you look at the public sale, which is 5% of the total BFG distributions, the price point on that right now is 0.053. That's the planned price for the public sale, which is only a 2-cent difference, which is less than 2x between the pre-seed and the seed round and the public sale investors. So that ensures that in order for the investors that back this project to begin with to even double their money, that the public sale would also have to be in profit as well, which we haven't seen a lot of in the past when it comes to GameFi projects. So I think that's a fantastic way that the BFG team has done in making sure that everyone's on the same page, working towards the same cause, and there is much less of a concern for a large dump to take place as tokens become unlocked. So my hat's off to the BFG team for that. And then as you can see kind of on the screen here, how the rest of those tokens are kind of broken up when it comes to distribution. You've got the player rewards, the staking that's going to take place. They've got a large percentage of them. I think it's 14% for staking. 6% is dedicated to the esports and making sure that those rewards are available. The team, the reserves, and then you've got the liquidity when that starts as well. So it's really broken out really well. Each of these has an unlock a vesting schedule that kind of continues on, and I think as we get closer to launch, we'll make sure that we highlight those if anything's changed. But the way that I look at it for the distribution part of it, I think it's very well put together by the entire team. I think that it is structured in one of the best ways I've seen, at least in the last 6 or 8 months or so, as new projects have started coming online and a lot of these become more public. This is one of the, if not the best one I've seen yet. So my hat's off to them. So we'll move on here to exactly how you can earn in the game, what are different avenues you can take, and see between both actively and passively. And I'll show you that they've got a really it looks more complicated than it is, and I think they've done a great job in kind of breaking down how that loop continues to ensure that the game stays enjoyable first and foremost, but also that the token remains sustainable. So we'll take a look at that here in a second. So one of the things the team did to really help kind of lay this out is they recently published a blog article on exactly what the BFG token is and what its utility is. And you can find that at the link that we'll provide down in the description below. But here's a snapshot from that blog post that kind of lays out how the tokenomics and the ecosystem works within BFG. So it looks confusing at first, but it kind of makes sense when you start to examine all the different aspects that go into the BFG token and how it's used. So BFG is going to be the main currency within the game. It's going to be used for everything within Battle for Giostone. You're going to use it to buy a hero from somebody after the initial mint, and you'll pay 95% of those tokens will go to the previous owner, and then 5% of those will be a marketplace fee that gets divided between the treasury and the team. And that's kind of where they are going to use that 5% to continue to develop the funding for the game, making sure that the servers are running, and then use that to adjust any other changes that need to be done for the longevity of the game. So the rest of the 95% of those tokens go to the players. So there's going to be that secondary marketplace that is a huge part of the BFG ecosystem, because as you start forging heroes, you may only want to specialize in one class. So say you primarily play the game, but you like to be a warrior, that you like to be fighting up close and personal, but you happen to forge a bunch of long-ranged heroes. So you just okay, I'll forge some heroes and I'll sell all the ones that are range type damage classes to somebody else. So you've got income coming in that way, but you're also still playing the game, having fun with your melee class warrior. So there's that aspect. Also, there is another thing that they have is called basically like a compendium, which can equate to something similar to a battle pass in like Call of Duty or Battlefield, as you've seen before, that you complete quests, gain levels, and then your battle pass gets BFG tokens that go right into the treasury. So they'll get custom skins, they'll get more rewards at the end of each season. And it's just a way to kind of increase your earnings to maximize both, what you can make on the side, but also another way to play the game that people always strive for. So you've got those exclusive skins that are yours, which then, of course, you can also sell on the secondary market because they're yours forever, and you can continue to sell those. So that's another way that you can continue to earn with BFG within the ecosystem and on the secondary market. And so another area that we haven't seen previously in a lot of the GameFi games is because this is going to be focused a lot on the esports avenue, and I think esports is going to drive a lot of additional funding into the BFG ecosystem. So how that's done, as you can see kind of on the right side of the image here, the sponsors are going to pay a large portion of money to get these BFG tournaments or offer for a prize pool, and that's going to be bought in with USD or equivalent fiat, and that's going to be turned into BFG. So that will then be put back into the treasury, which then can be pushed out to the players for in-game rewards, and that keeps fresh capital moving into the ecosystem. Because the way the BFG token distribution is set up, there'll be a point where the rewards pool is depleted, and the only way to continue that on is to make sure that there is additional funding coming in from outside the ecosystem through the forging of new heroes and the esports capital from USD being turned into BFG that then can be pushed back out to the players as the rewards. So you can see that on the image there, moving from the esports fresh capital to USD into the treasury, and then that's pushed back out in BFG to the players, and then kind of loops its way that way. So continues this kind of continuous feedback loop of USD coming into the ecosystem, turning into BFG, and being able to push that money out to the players in the form of BFG that keeps the rewards pool topped up. So that covers really the player aspect of how you can play and earn within the ecosystem, and then how outside money coming in from esports helps build the ecosystem. But what about players who are used to sponsorships, guilds, scholarship models? So the team has opted to go away from the scholarship model that we've seen in most games, where you manage a bunch of disciples or other players that are renting your NFTs. And I think this is a good way to go about it, because the way they look at it is they want to create a revenue sharing model that's very easy for somebody to come in passively, invest in the game, but not have to manage a large portion of NFTs that at any time they could, if they get tired of it, they can dump all the NFTs. And you've got a large amount of heroes that are kind of on the marketplace, tanking the price. And granted, they could do that with the token, but it still keeps the amount of heroes to people that are actually invested in playing the game in the game, and allows the investors who want to do passively invest in just a token and sell it as they come and go. So how they do that is you're going to be able to basically mint an NFT as a passive investor. And you do that in the form of staking your tokens. So the NFTs are just going to be minted based on how many tokens you want to invest. And that basically locks them up because, no matter how many you could do, percentages haven't been set, but there's probably going to be tiers of how many you can use to mint this NFT that's then will return an APY based on how many tokens you've locked into that NFT. But to add to that, so there's going to be multipliers that you can get for that NFT to earn more as it's staked. But the only way to get that is from drops that occur in game. So players who are just playing the game and having fun could run across these drops and then put them on the marketplace for sale, which then the passive investor can be like, well, I want to increase my APY, but I don't want to grind the game trying to find these things. So that's another way that they continue to kind of build that token loop where the passive investors can now buy that multiplier for their NFT that's earning money through staking from the marketplace, from the player who found it in the game. So the player gets paid a little bit more for finding it. The passive investor then boosts his APY a little for adding that to his NFT, and that continues kind of the circular economy without having to do any extra managing of 50, 55 heroes that are in a scholarship model and having to work time zones and all the issues that come with guilds and large scholarship programs. So I think that's a fantastic way that the team has done to kind of go away from the norm of scholarships and more towards, making sure that everyone's involved in the ecosystem and they all work together, but not taking away anything from the players in the game or the investors having to go through extra steps to make sure that they are getting the most out of their rewards. And so the final phase that we really want to talk about is the tokenomics on how forging fees are going to work. So if you're familiar with Snail Trail, what they did for breeding was there was an algorithm that basically changed the price that it would cost to breed two snails together to ensure that there wasn't an oversupply or undersupply, which caused an impact on the token used in Snail Trail. So the BFG team is doing something similar where they're having automated forging fees that they can adjust on a timeline that they determine in the future, whether that be daily, weekly, monthly, bi-monthly. Basically, that will ensure that there is no oversupply or undersupply. So if there were too many heroes on the market and it costs the same, the token price would eventually go down. But if there was an undersupply and there was more people trying to pile into the game that were heroes available, then the token price would be sky high, which we've seen in previous games when there just was a set rate to mint or breed NFTs, there was a bunch of players that poured into the ecosystem, which shot the price way up, and then eventually that causes at some point a top to be reached and then a large drop. So with these automated forging fees, it'll ensure that the token price remains relatively stable within a range, and I think that's a fantastic way to ensure the sustainability and viability of the forging of new heroes by players, because those are the ones that are going to make the money off of those new heroes after the initial mint. And you can see on their website that their minting page is coming soon. So if you go there and you jump in their Discord, you'll be updated on when all of that will take place. And so a lot of this information in the video is still kind of in development. A lot of it's been solidified by the team, but of course, as we get closer to launch, before the public launch of the token, if there's any updates to any of the price points for the public sale or any of the tokenomics within the game, if they tweak any, we'll make sure to go back and update this video, as well as kind of do a once over the world right before launch, just to make sure that we update with the latest and greatest. If you do have any questions or concerns, you can always reach out to me on Twitter at TradingAloha, or you can jump in their Discord. Their team is always available there to answer any questions you might have or provide detail on any other aspect of the game that you might want to know about. You can also follow them on Twitter at BFGiostone and reach out to them that way, or stay up to date on the latest and greatest as they release announcements, hold Twitter spaces and AMAs, and also jump on a bunch of YouTube lives. They've been doing a great job on getting their name recognition out there, doing a lot of streams, doing a lot of AMAs, and really just making sure that this MOBA is well received by the community as one of the first in the space, and also one of the first to kind of implement the esports and streamers into the game itself, which I think is going to be a huge way to help onboard new players easily. And the fact that there is a free to play model in this as well, where you don't actually have to own a hero and buy one to play. There'll be a pool of heroes that are available, which we'll kind of talk about next week, that you can use just to play the game and have fun. And then once you want to, you can step up to either buying a forged hero or just investing passively through staking, or you can just continue to play for free and kind of build up that way. So there's opportunities for pretty much everyone across the spectrum, and I think this is a great way to help bridge that gap between Web2 and Web3 gaming. So I'm excited about it. I love the way the tokenomics look in the game, and I can't wait to see what the team comes out with next. If this video has helped, please go ahead and throw us a like and subscribe to help the YouTube algorithm out a little bit. And we will take a look next week at the actual gameplay within Battle for Giostone and how you mint heroes, the different types of traits and ways that you can create exactly what kind of class you want to be, whether it be ranged or up close and personal damage. So it's really fun. It's really intricate. There's a lot of different ways that you can create different classes and heroes and have a whole lot of fun with it. And I think the cosmetics and the skins and the special abilities that they've come up with and will come out with as the game progresses is going to make this is really successful. So I'm excited about it. I appreciate it again for you guys listening to me, and I will talk to you next time.